Yeah, I love it. Guys, this is the whole crew for our next hour. We got Stacey Dales over here joining us.
Thanks
back
for
on
having
the show.
me.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
We're having a three-point shootout after the game, after the show.
Bring it.
I'm down. I'm
Look,
really good at basketball.
If I told this story, no one would believe me. But I've seen Stacey play for the Washington Mystics, and I'm not.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. I love women's basketball.
That's D'Angelo Hall. We got Sean O'Hara.
Who just won the WNBA
Mike Garofalo.
championship.
Hello.
And it makes me old. Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, shoot. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm in fatigues, these are my dad's and that he actually wore in the military, which is crazy because I can barely fit in them. But
Awesome. It's a good look.
We're doing Salute
Shout
to
out to
Service
Big Ed.
this month, and Ed was on the show a little earlier. So thanks, Dad, and to all of our military veterans out there and current service members for all of your service. Okay, let's talk about the Steelers, guys. They started the season with Super Bowl aspirations, and that quickly changed after Ben went down for the year in Week 2. But since starting 1-4, they've won 3 straight and are back in the AFC playoff picture. Just like that, this week they welcomed the Rams to town. Omar Ruiz has the latest from Pittsburgh with a familiar face coming through.
As the Steelers practice for the final time before facing the Rams on Sunday, a constant reminder on whose presence looms large around here after a major donation. The University of Pittsburgh's football facility, which is right next to the Steelers, has been renamed after Rams star Aaron Donald. Steelers Pro Bowl guard David Castro told me what makes Donald so good, in addition to all of his physical gifts, is how smart a player he is. He always knows exactly which gap to shoot and is never out of position. That intelligence shows up on tape. For Donald, it won't be a reunion with fellow former Pitt alum James Conner. The Steelers Pro Bowl running back has been ruled out for the second game in a row as he deals with a shoulder injury. So once again, it'll be Trey Edmonds in the backfield for the Steelers, who led the team in rushing, and Jalen Samuels, who led the team in receiving last week in their big win over the Colts.
Thank you, Omar. Check out this tweet from him. Kind of a unique situation in Pittsburgh. The Steelers practicing in front of a building named for Aaron Donald.
Nice.
That's because the Steelers
Can't hide that money.
share a facility. That is awesome. I love it. So maybe some psychological.
There better be a ping pong table somewhere in that building. AD paid
Rams
for it.
and Steelers both trying to creep back in the playoff race. So D-Hall, who's more likely to make it?
You know, I went back and forth because we all know the Steelers' schedule is getting really easy. The Rams have a tough road, but I just think of the players. When you talk about Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald, getting a guy like Jalen Ramsey, I think the energy he'll bring to this defense. I just read something where he said, look, I'm not worried about Juju. I'm used to covering Antonio Brown. Like, Juju's not Antonio Brown. That type of attitude, I think, is the type of attitude that's going to propel this Rams team. And I'm going with the Rams, man. Like I said, they will be battle-tested by the time they get to the playoffs, and I believe in Sean McVay and this team.
I feel like they just have to figure out a way to kind of utilize their running backs, too.
Yes.
And as you can see here, the remaining schedule for the Rams. And, yeah, there's some tough games on there. There's also some easier ones. They play the Cardinals twice. And you obviously have the Seahawks, Dallas, and Baltimore in there. But
You got to get through that division.
And you're in one of the toughest divisions in
That's
football.
the problem. That's the biggest thing.
You got to jump Seattle and San Francisco. I go with the Steelers on this one just because you're 2 games behind the Ravens right now in the division. You talk about that schedule. Well, the Rams next, Browns, Bengals, Cardinals, Bills. You just beat the Colts. So you got to focus on what the Buffalo Bills do and what you're going to see against them ahead. You just beat Indy. But, guys, I mean...
Winnable games.
Correct. You have the Jets to end and the Ravens, and I just think there's an opportunity there with a little bit of momentum with that defense now shored up on the back end, and you protect the quarterback, which they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's coming. Goff is coming off one of the best games of the season. You have Cooper Kupp, who's coming off probably the best game of his career. So there's some momentum going on, but they were playing the Bengals too. So this is a little different.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, what do you have, 212 yards receiving? For me, I'm taking the Rams in this because I think the slow start to the season is directly correlated to the Super Bowl. It's hard when you play in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, all of a sudden the season's on you before you know it. There is a little bit of a, man, we're getting out of the blocks a little bit slow. And I think when you look at what they've done, they turned the ball over a lot early on, but in Goff's last 3 games, he hasn't thrown a single interception. They're coming off the bye week right now, so everybody's kind of rested. This is why they have been resting Todd Gurley for this stretch of the season. Who cares what Todd Gurley did in the first 8 games of the season, right? If he's not ready and he can't help you through the meat of your schedule right here, these are the toughest games all season. So this is when they need Todd Gurley the most. It's why I think they've kind of had him on a pitch count. But I think Goff over Mason Rudolph is why the Rams, I think, will be better and they'll make it to the playoffs.
I hope that's the case, though, with
the only
Todd
Steelers?
Gurley.
Listen, my bold prediction to start the season here on Good Morning Football Weekend was the Rams were not even going to make the playoffs. So I got to continue to stick with that, right?
Sticking to your guns.
You can't be like Mike Robb and be like, Bills, 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 and then
Don't do that. He's not here to defend himself.
the week you're not. Well, this is the week that he picked against the Bills. So I'm going to stick with that. But I do believe in Mason Rudolph, and I do believe that he is continuing to improve. Last week, he's just shaking off the rust a little bit last week and getting back into the flow of games. Hadn't practiced a whole lot. But the fact is, he's kind of like representative of this entire team right now. The fact is, they just kind of won't go away, right? Like you think they're just going to fold and then they don't. He's a mentally tough guy. And you thought the Aaron Donald thing was awkward. He's going to look across the sideline on Sunday, look across the field on the other sideline. Zach Robinson, the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Rams, was a guy that helped prepare him for the draft here. So there's a bunch of different storylines here regarding this game. But I think Mason Rudolph has played good football.
Can I do a quick who said that? Can I do a quick who said that?
Yes, I love
sure.
impromptu
Ready?
games.
Impromptu, who said that?
You better stay on schedule. If you're behind the chains, you're swimming in shark-infested waters.
That's Mike T.
With this rush.
Is that Mike T?
I mean, I think that big eyes gave it away right there.
Every time.
He actually did that better than Mike did the
You're
whole segment.
swimming in shark-infested waters. Aaron Donald is coming home. This is such a storyline, you guys.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. It's so true. And I think, too, though, when on the Steelers side of things, that trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick is such a big deal now. The way that he's sort of helped out that defense. Like you said, they're 4-4 right now, and they've weathered the storm of losing Ben Roethlisberger. They're going to be without James Conner for their second straight week here. So there's been so many things that have come their way, and they're still right there. They're still in it, and Minkah really helps.
Yeah, definitely impressive what the Steelers has done. I just think that when I look at their schedule, it looks easy, but if Cleveland can somehow not turn the ball over and score a little bit, those 2 games become very, very tough because from a personnel standpoint, they have players. I think we all can admit that. They got guys that can beat you single-handedly.
We turned this into another Where Are the Browns conversation.
The Browns, they're
It just always comes up.
Can't get rid of them.
Conversations.
Chick.
So, Goff, sometimes he does take too much blame. Maybe some people think that, but
What are you showing us here?
he's one of the few Rams whose production, it's dropped this season. His passer rating down about 14 points compared to last year. Todd Gurley's scrimmage yards obviously have dropped from 130 to 62. And even Aaron Donald is on pace for just 10 sacks after 20 and a half a year
Getting a lot of
ago.
attention.
I know. So we'll see.